Welcome. My name is Tracy Stevens, and this is the Healing Point podcast. So thank you so much for being here today. And I'm just going to hand over to you. What is it you'd like to explore today?
First of all, thank you. I really appreciate this opportunity. I would like to explore, some of my digestive problems. I've been having irritable bowel syndrome, since I was in fourth grade. That was very young. I learned how to control it, by recognizing what triggers the symptoms. Of course, stress is one of them, and particular food is another thing. But recently, I developed gluten intolerance, and I was diagnosed with leaky gut syndrome. So basically, I cut the gluten out of my diet, in addition to other food that I'm intolerant to, such as oats and pineapples. And I have been finding difficulty absorbing important nutrients such as iron and vitamin D, and also zinc. So when I did a blood test, these particular vitamins were low, and after taking supplements, it got better. So I just like to focus on that issue because it's been a while since I've been suffering from it.
Okay, yeah. Could you tell me a little bit more about how that manifests for you on a daily basis?
So I would say I had good days and I have bad days. There are days when, I barely notice that I have a digestion problem or, I feel discomfort. And there are days when I feel like the symptoms are really bothering me. The symptoms include, water retention, feel lethargic or tired, and brain fog. I think the one that really bugs me the most and kind of interferes with work and also my quality of life is the brain fogs. So it's very difficult for me to concentrate at work. I feel like I need to put extra effort to review something or even sometimes just to write a simple email. And even at home, I'm a mom of 4 kids, so I really need to be focused. All of them have different schedule, different needs, and sometimes, the brain fog also interferes with my ability to concentrate and to follow up on certain, tasks or items that I need to take care of for my kids.
Yeah, and I'm sure that'll be so familiar with so many people. So my question for you is, what is it, do you think, that your body is asking for? When you feel and experience that brain fog, and it sounds like you're pushing yourself, there's an effort, more effort is required to do the everyday functioning and everyday things that you have to do. If you were to really touch into your body and ask your body what it wanted to do, what answers come up for you?
Well, I feel like there's a need to have a better connection with myself. When the symptoms are triggered, I really don't know why they're triggered. Like, what particular food did I eat or what kind of stress did I go through? And I often don't spend, I think, much time trying to understand what triggered it. I just try to go into like firefighter mode, trying to treat the symptoms, but really not understanding the cause. So I feel sometimes that I just need to pause, take a break, and just really connect with myself and try to understand what I really want, what my authentic self wants, versus some kind of program or some kind of like autopilot that I'm in.
That's a beautiful answer, actually, and it's so true, isn't it? So many of us sit in that autopilot place, doing things because we perceive that we have to.
Yeah, so sometimes also I feel like I want to break free. Like, I have the awareness sometimes, like when I do the work, and I understand that this is some type of programming, some type of have to, when it doesn't have to be a have to, it could be my choice. But I struggle to break. I mean, I know that this is a program, but I can't break. And I think that's part of frustration as well, as like, so I have this awareness, great. Why can't I exit? Why can't I break free?
Yeah. And that brings up another question, which is, what would it feel like to break free? What would breaking free look like in your life?
It would feel like choices, like everything I do as my choice. And it is my authentic, my real me choice. It's not a program. I'm not doing this because I have to. I'm doing this because I want to. So it would be, I think, so liberating if I can get to that level where I live by choice.
So you feel right now that there is no choice?
In some aspects of my life, yes, I do feel like I just have to. I don't have a choice.
Okay. And that feeling of having to and having no choice, does that idea go back a long way for you?
Yes, I think it reminds me of my childhood. There's a lot of situations when I was young where I felt that I was in a very controlling environment and there were a lot of rules and there was just no choice. You just had to, behave in a certain way, you have to deliver or conduct yourself in a certain way. You had to follow the rules. There was no opportunity to have different choices. You were not allowed to break the rules or consequences if you broke the rules. So I did feel overwhelmed when I was young. Like, this is too much. I just want to, go out and play.
Yeah, makes sense. And we lose our freedom in all those rules, don't we? That's what happens for most of us, is we lose that freedom. Because we're talking about your digestive system, I wonder what your experience of meal times was for you in general as a child.
Well, I do remember that we used to have meals together. It was very important that we gathered and a meal together. I do remember feeling comfortable on the table. I think the only thing that comes to mind right now that you had to be proper on the table, for example. So, you had to be on time, you sit in a certain way, finish your plate, interject politely, try not to make a mess, the usual stuff. So, going back, it felt like a good time. I don't feel like it was some kind of have to. It was something that I liked doing with my family.
So you like to do that with your family, but you still mention quite a lot of rules, even in that scenario.
Yeah, so you had to be proper. That's what I remember, that you couldn't, for example, let's say, leave some food on the table or complain about the vegetables or fight with your sibling or something like that. You had to be proper and respected people on the table and followed some certain norms. But it was quiet time. I mean, it was a good time to connect with the family. We used to have, good conversations on the table.
Okay, so you enjoyed those times with your family?
Overall, yes, I did.
The only reason I'm bringing it up is because there is a certain amount of restriction for a child, especially when they have to eat everything and they're not allowed to leave anything. Does that feel relevant to you or not?
It does feel a little bit relevant. So I would have enjoyed, being more myself and more relaxed if I was on the table and less nervous that I would accidentally spill milk or water or make a mess. Or I could, joke around with my siblings and that would be, okay.
Yeah, so I'm just bringing attention to that because although these rules around meal times are really common and they sit in most families and they feel like they're normal, it's just bringing your attention to the fact that if you break a rule, that there's a consequence. And so whenever that happens, and anybody sitting around a table where there's specific rules to follow is mindful of, I must not break that rule. And that in itself isn't quite freedom and it isn't quite relaxation.
Yeah, now that you mentioned it, I just became accustomed to it. It's like normal to me. I don't feel like it's something wrong or bad. It's just the way it was.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It becomes normal. So we don't look at it necessarily in detail, but in understanding digestion, we need to look at how relaxed the nervous system and the digestive system is, because the digestive system works best in that parasympathetic state, in that relaxation state, That's where we get all our nutrients, that time, because our body is in a state of relaxation. So usually whenever there's this digestive problem going on, there's an underlying slight activation. You know, I'm not saying there's full fear and flight mode, but there is an underlying theme of stress. Might be just low level. That low level switch on of that sympathetic nervous system means that we don't digest completely fully. And if we think about that in terms of absorption, it's this resistance to absorbing the full experience of eating, because I've just got to be careful, got to be cautious, got to hold my muscles a little bit tight. I can't completely relax. And it might be enjoyable to be around the table because you're getting that interaction with your family that you may not get at other times. So there's a trade-off there. But also, if you're having to be a certain way and not being completely authentic, then there's a little bit of tightening with that. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, it does. I never thought of it that way, that I'm slightly activated. I'm not totally relaxed, and that's impacting my digestion. I never made that connection, to be honest. Like, I always thought that, I don't know, I just had a bad stomach, it was genes or something. And I am an anxious person. I'm learning how to control my anxiety, or how to, relax. But I never connected the meal and the way I felt the time I was eating with my nervous system.
Yeah. So how is that feeling now you're sort of contemplating it now?
I feel I need to pay more attention to my state when I'm coming to the meal table. So now that I'm thinking about it, I am a fast eater. I just gobble my food quickly. There's something that I need to do, even if I didn't have anything to do. It's just a bad habit that I'm trying to now learn myself how to, eat, take my time while I'm eating. And also being, enjoying the taste of the food, the smell of the food, the quality of the food, just, being in the moment and enjoying it instead of rushing it like it's something in my way. Kind of. Yeah. This is how I act now as an adult. But now that you're helping me reflect, I'm thinking of my habits, and I kind of do that unconsciously.
I think so many of us do. I've just had my breakfast and I was completely thinking about something else while I was eating. And so it's easily done. I think we all do this because we're all planning for the next moment. But there's a point when digestive issues come up when it's really important just to reflect on, this is a big part of our lives. Eating and digestion in particular, because it is that absorption. It's that metaphor of, what am I taking in now? Am I here in this present moment? Or am I in some future place? If your mind is in the future place, then your body is already preparing for that immediate future, whether it's the washing up, whether it's the planning, whether it's the, I've got to take the kids to school. Your body's already getting prepared to move rather than to absorb and digest.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think I'm going to be more mindful of my state and the way I eat, and try to take my time and enjoy my food. See how that happens, how that would impact me.
Yeah, and reflect on how relaxed it is in your family when you eat. Or what, is it a joyful time, or are you all talking about the future? There's something about when we're focused on what's going to happen next rather than what's happening now. Does this make sense?
It does. It does. I think the table time should be an enjoyable time for everyone, There should be, laughter. There should be connections. It shouldn't be a difficult time or, something to worry about. It should be really something to look forward for. Because I think it's the only time as a family with our busy lives that we could, connect.
Absolutely. So it sort of brings up another question, which is level of stress in your life in general. And you mentioned anxiety. So if there's anxiety there, there is again this activation of the nervous system.
Mm.
And I suppose for me, it comes down to, okay, so what is the stress? What's the experience in your life, just in general, that is precipitating this state of stress?
Well, I think being a working mom is one of them. I'm trying to juggle too much. Work takes a lot of time and energy from me. And then when I go back home, I still need to have some energy left to take care of the kids. I have 4 kids, different age levels. So, quite busy with them. I think that's a source of not necessarily stress, but it's always me trying to balance and making sure that I am giving what my kids needs, I'm meeting their needs, also trying to meet my own needs. So in the past 5 or 6 years I realized the importance of my own needs also. So I try to balance also some time or me time where I can do stuff for me, just to take care of myself, and at work, of course, still in that competition, still trying to excel, still trying to move forward in my career is also, adding, I would say, to the stress level. So it just feels overwhelming. It feels like it's just too much, too much. I can't do all of this. That's the feeling I have, or the thought that I have.
And there's a reflection there for your nervous system, like there's just too much. I can't absorb all of it.
It is.
So you're pushing through your life. It's a lot of effort.
Yeah, I do feel that. I work hard, and I do wish sometimes that things would be just easier or come easier for me.
Yeah. Going back to that childhood experience with all the rules, was the pushing and I've got to keep going and get into this place where I'm achieving, was that part of your childhood?
From an academic point of view, yes. So there was an expectation that you would be a top student and that you would work hard and put in all the effort to be at that level. And I've been an A student throughout school, throughout the university, and now I think I'm trying to continue in my workplace with that mentality that I just have to be the best.
Yeah. And there's the program.
Mm.
Is it true? Do you have to be the best?
No. I think I had this realization, like, why am I doing this to myself? Why is it so important to me to be the best? It doesn't matter. But it's one of those things that I couldn't break through. Like, I couldn't free myself from it. I know that I don't have to, but I don't know how to stop.
So these are the patterns that we get into, aren't they? They're patterns, and they're not just patterns from us, they're patterns from our whole family and background.
Mm.
And so breaking the pattern is the tricky bit.
It is. I've been trying. I don't think I've been successful.
And just notice your words there.
I really put an effort. I really tried it, but I fall into the same pattern again and again. And I can't seem to stop myself.
Okay, well, let's work with an example. So can you give me an example, maybe at work or some scenario somehow where you are pushing yourself to be, this successful person or be the best or however that looks?
So, for example, if I'm assigned to a project, I am the kind that would try to think every little detail about that project, which takes a long time, and then bring a twist or bring something that nobody else thought of to the table. And I usually really put an effort. So the quality of my product is of a certain standard. And that takes a lot of time and effort from me. And then, because the way they distribute work is that you all get like 3 projects, for example. And because I'm the type that takes a long time and an effort, while others, they might find shortcuts, or they might not seek the same level that I'm seeking. They can manage the 3 projects. They don't have time issues or stress like me, but I would take the 3, put in the extra effort and try to finish like everybody else with the given time. So I don't know how to be more selective. Like, I don't have to excel in all of these 3 projects. The expectation is to have a decent product and a decent time, or with a given time. I don't have to. Nobody's asking me to excel, but I'm doing it to myself.
Yeah.
So how can I change that in me? And the second thing is that I'm so sensitive to criticism. So if I settle with average and then, my boss gives me feedback, I really get disappointed. Like I get disappointed because he's not accepting the product, or he doesn't think I'm exceptional anymore. And it just triggers me. And then I go back and I put the effort and I fall on this, this loop again.
So the belief becomes, I have to be exceptional. Otherwise I'm
nobody.
Failing?
No,
nobody.
I'm a nobody.
Okay.
Yeah. To be somebody, you have to be exceptional. It sounds ridiculous that I said it out loud right now.
I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did. Because what that suggests is, unless I'm exceptional, I am not important.
Yes, that hits home. Yes.
Okay. So think about those words in terms of how you grew up. Unless I'm exceptional, I'm not important.
Yeah, the way I got attention and praise was through my marks.
Yeah.
If I got good marks, my dad was proud, my family was proud. I get gifts, I get rewards, I'm praised, all those good things.
Yeah. Yes. And what if you weren't? What if you didn't excel? What happened?
Well, you would be a disappointment.
Okay. And how would you know you would be a disappointment?
So you wouldn't get the attention. You might hear a few words about, to do a better job, to put in effort. This is not acceptable. You just have to be an A student. You have to be top of your game.
Yeah. And how does that feel inside now we're talking about it?
I wish I had time to be a child and more time to play and less time to work, or, put in an effort to get some kind of grade. If I go back to those days, what I really wanted and what I really was feeling was, I just want to play and I just want to enjoy my time and watch TV. I don't want to put so much effort in trying to get top grades.
Yeah. Notice that choice. Wasn't a choice when you were a child.
Yeah, it didn't feel like a choice. You just had to. And it was not only in my house, it was in the community that I lived in. Everybody had the same expectation. You go to school, they had this expectation. Your colleagues, your peers had this expectation. Your family had this expectation. It felt so normal at the time that everybody was doing it. This is the expectation.
Yeah. And you said this at the beginning as well about having no choice.
Yeah, it wasn't a choice. You just had to.
This is just bringing that to your attention that that same program is running now for you.
Yeah.
I have no choice. I have to keep going. It's what's expected. It is programmed into me.
Yeah, you're right. Nobody's asking me to do this. Nobody has this expectation. I'm doing it to myself.
Yeah. Just bringing your attention to the fact that it's running now, it's still within you now because it's rooted. And here there's a pause in the recording while we connect to the inner child and do some deep and profound personal work. It's inappropriate to put into the podcast, but connecting these hidden parts of ourselves is very powerful and has the potential to be extremely healing. And we return after this segment. So going forward then, I just invite you to notice the thoughts that come up. And instead of running with those automatic thoughts, if you can take a moment to pause when you've got projects coming up and you're going, okay, I've got to think of something that makes me stand out for this project. If you can pause and just recognize that you're running in a pattern there. Just noticing the voice inside that says, well, you've got to think of something. You've got to think of something new. It's come on, don't rest. Don't pause. You've got to be the best. The work, the change is about recognizing that voice and recognizing that although that voice is there, you do have a choice. You can witness that. You can witness the program running inside of you and say, I hear you, but I'm choosing to do something different this time. Even if it's just the tiniest thing, like, I don't know, however that would look to you, like going, I'm going to create a shortcut here. If it's just something that is a change, then your whole energy will start to change.
I'm going to try it. And then I want to be okay when my product is average. I just want to be okay with it. So what? It's average. So what? Or, whatever the feedback is, I don't want to be so controlled by it.
Your kids are never going to say, no, Mum, go to work, go and do that thing, rather than spending time and having fun with me. No, I want you to do really well in that project. It's like, one of the things we have to do as parents is really prioritize, don't we? And sometimes I believe I did too, is prioritize the wrong things or the things that didn't actually make us happy. Maybe rather than right or wrong, it's more about actually what makes our life worth living.
No, it's very true. And if I reflect back or try to think of the time where I'm really happy, I'm really happy when I'm spending time with my kids, when I'm going out with them, when I'm watching a movie with them. That's where I'm really happy. And it doesn't feel like an effort, it feels natural. What feels like an effort, like if I have to do tours for the school or something like that.
Yeah. There are always trials and frustrations and challenges, but it's just picking your battle, I suppose. And, what do you want to save your energy for? So
true.
And we began this conversation about your digestive system, and I know we've sort of veered into some other areas here, but does this help join some dots for you in terms of your digestion?
Yes, I mean, I really want to pay attention to my state when I'm eating, because I think that's an important point. I need to be relaxed, enjoying my food, properly, like chewing my food, not rushing through it, just, taking that time to enjoy the meal and enjoy the connection with the family members. That's something definitely. And also the programming. I need to pay more attention to some of the thoughts that go through my head that, make me react the way that I react. Because I do think that stress is really playing a big role in my digestion.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the time I feel drained, tired, overworked. And I do feel like I work harder than others, that others get it easier than me. But now I think I have this realization that it's me doing it to me. So I could, change the way I think and the way I behave to get some more peace of mind.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's brilliant. And thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you. I enjoyed it very much.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this, you'll find a lot more content on my Instagram account at thehealingpoint._. If you have a question you'd like to explore and are willing to take part in the podcast, you'll find all the information you need on my website, which is www.tracystevens.org/podcast. Thanks and see you soon.